lease extension is sometimes easier than leasehold enfranchisement, sometimes known as collective enfranchisement. The difference between these two is a lease extension means that you will extend simply your own lease on your own flat. Collective enfranchisement is where a group of tenants all club together to buy their freehold. The difficulty with this, especially if you live in a larger block, are logistics. Some people may be slow in returning documents, may not have the funds to process the transaction. And so instead of waiting around for others, then you can simply extend your own lease now to ensure that you preserve your own lease and the value of your flat. Depending on how you extend your lease, you may find that the ground rent provisions are removed. If you extend your lease under the statutory regime, and so have an additional 90 years on top of your unexpired term, it is also a feature of that process that your ground rent is reduced to a peppercorn, so nothing, for the remainder of the lease term. If, however, you manage to come to a private agreement with your freeholder may insist on retaining some ground rent for the remainder of the extended term. There's two things to consider when looking at whether now is a great time to extend your lease. The first one is the length of your lease. If you're approaching 80 years unexpired, then we would always recommend that you take action sooner rather than later. Once the lease drops below 80 years, then the premium payable to your freeholder will rise and continues to rise sharply the shorter your lease becomes because of what's known as the marriage value element in the calculation of the premium. A second reason why it's a good idea to extend your lease now is the value that you will pay for your lease extension, so the premium, is calculated with reference to property values. At the moment, the housing market is somewhat depressed, and so property values have fallen, or at least they're not rising as sharply as they have been over recent years, and so therefore we are finding that leaseholders are paying a little less for lease extensions at this time.